If you want to learn everything about Daredevil, be sure to watch the video. Well, hi there, spoiler dash here. Daredevil might be the most awesome and at the same time the most underrated Marvel hero of all time. Or well, that used to be the case until now, that he's receiving the attention that he deserves. That's why today I want to bring you the Daredevil Iceberg. You know how this works. At the top is the information that everyone knows, and the deeper we go, we'll be learning about the most unknown facts. So be sure to stay until the end if you want to know absolutely everything about Daredevil. But before starting the video, give me a like, click the subscribe button, and leave in the comments "Justice is blind, but I trust you" if you are a fan of Daredevil. Thank you so much for watching, and with that out of the way, let's begin! Tier 1, the tip of the iceberg. Season 4. The 4th season of Daredevil was cancelled after Netflix and Disney ended their deal, and all of the Marvel content on Netflix was going to be moved to Disney+. Although what could we have seen in Daredevil Season 4? According to Charlie Cox, we would have seen the conflict between Bullseye and Daredevil. Maybe we could have seen the return of Elektra and the death of Karen Page like in the comics. MCU cameos. If you don't live under a rock, you already know about the cameo of Daredevil in Spider-Man No Way Home, and the cameo of Wilson Fisk in Hawkeye. Daredevil is yet set to appear on She-Hulk while I'm recording this, and in the future Disney show Echo, Daredevil is finally getting the recognition that he deserves. Disney Plus. As if the crazy amount of cameos that we're having wasn't enough, we're getting another Daredevil show, named Daredevil Born Again. The most important information that we have at the moment is that it will be 18 episodes long, and that it won't be a continuation of the Daredevil show from Netflix. It will be a reboot. Kinda. Let's keep our fingers crossed so this show turns out amazing. Original suit. A well-known fact for most Daredevil fans is that his suit used to be red and yellow, instead of just red. This suit just lasted for 6 issues, and by the 7th issue of the Daredevil comics, it was removed and changed for the red suit that we all know and love. In the comics, it is explained that the red and yellow suit was the old garments that Daredevil's father, battling Jack Murdock, used to wear in his box matches. Matt Murdock. Another well-known fact, not just by Daredevil fans, but for any Marvel fan in general, is that if you want to know if a character was created by Stan Lee, just look at their names. Their first name starts with the same letter as the last name. Examples: Matt Murdock, Peter Parker, Stephen Strange, Reed Richards, and Bruce Banner are just a few examples. Fortnite. There is a skin of Daredevil in Fortnite. It was released in the Chapter 2, Season 4 of the game. You could win it early by a tournament that they did, but nowadays you can get it when it releases on the Fortnite item shop. Avengers Tower. In some promotionals of the first season of Daredevil, you can see the Avengers Tower, which means that it was loosely connected to the MCU. Daredevil 2, Affleck. We will have got a second Daredevil movie starred by Ben Affleck. It was going to be inspired on the comic Born Again, and all the characters from the first movie will have returned, along with a shredded Kingpin. But it was cancelled mainly because of 2 reasons. One was that Ben Affleck wanted a different suit, because it was full leather and he felt really uncomfortable while wearing it. But the suit change was denied by none other than Avi Arad. Yeah, the same guy that has been screwing Spider-Man movies was screwing movies from other studios long time before. So after the suit change was denied, Ben Affleck refused to return. And the final nail in the coffin was the poor reception of the movie Elektra. Born Again. Born Again is the best Daredevil comic that exists. After Wilson Fisk finds Daredevil's identity, he does everything to break Matt Murdock, and it is up to Daredevil to find the strength to endure his hardest fight. The Season 3 of Daredevil and the upcoming show to Disney Plus are inspired on this comic. Frank Miller. Frank Miller is one of the most legendary writers that exist in the comic book history. He wrote some of the most iconic Batman comics, and also some of the most iconic comics from Daredevil, Born Again being one of them. Before Frank Miller, Daredevil had a more light-hearted tone on his comics, but it was Frank Miller who gave a more serious tone to Daredevil. Shadowland. Daredevil Shadowland is one of the best Daredevil comics that has been published recently. After becoming the leader of the Hand, Daredevil builds a prison in the middle of Hell's Kitchen to be sure that crime is stopped once and for all, but the rest of the Marvel heroes don't agree with this decision, so Daredevil has to fight them all. If you want to see Daredevil being a total badass, you should totally read this comic. Daredevil was almost cancelled. Stan Lee created Daredevil while being afraid that anyone will be offended by the idea of a blind superhero, so he was willing to cancel the comic at any point as soon as one complaint arrived. Luckily for everyone, no one was offended, and Daredevil is one of the greatest superheroes of Marvel Comics. Tier 2. Below the Surface. Cancelled video game. Daredevil has a cancelled video game that was supposed to be released on 2003, along with the Ben Affleck movie, but the game had its own plot. It was going to be inspired on the comic Elektra Lives, and the main villains were going to be Kingpin and Bullseye, and other characters from Marvel Comics will appear like Black Widow. It was being developed by Sony and 5000 Feet. But because of created conflicts between Marvel and Sony, it was cancelled. Batman Spider-Man knockoff. When Daredevil was created, many people accused the character of being a knockoff of either Spider-Man or Batman. Although truth is that maybe he was inspired on those characters, Daredevil wasn't a copy. DC actors. Ben Affleck, who plays Daredevil in the movie from 2003, now plays Batman in the DC Extended Universe, and Colin Farrell, who played Bullseye in the same Daredevil movie, now plays the Penguin in the movie The Batman. Han Solo. Charlie Cox auditioned to play Han Solo in the movie Solo, a Star Wars story, but he didn't get the role because he forgot to make eye contact with the other actors, because at that point he was still acting like he was blind, like Daredevil. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were inspired on Daredevil. Even Splinter, who is master of the Ninja Turtles, is a reference to Stick. Clint Barton. In the second episode of the first season, in the flashbacks about Matt Murdock's childhood, you can see a poster announcing a fight between Weeks versus Barton. This might be a reference to Clint Barton. Hawkeye. Julie Detsin. Julie, love interest of Agent Point Dexter, dies in the show, and it is revealed on the last episode of the third season. But she is killed in the 8th episode in a scene that goes flying and is easy to miss. A lot of people didn't see this on their first watch, and to be honest, me neither. Avengers Aftermath. The reason why there's a lot of destroyed buildings and others under construction in the show is because it takes place just after the first Avengers movie, when New York was destroyed. Newspapers Easter eggs. A lot of times we can see different newspapers hanging on walls, referencing the first Avengers movie and the time that Hulk and Abomination destroyed Harlem. 9 days. Most episodes of Daredevil took 9 days to film, obviously not including the editing or the building of the sets. Stan Lee cameo. There's a lot of scenes in the police station where we can see a picture in a frame of Stan Lee. It looks like a memorial. Rest in peace, Stan. We'll never forget you. Deborah and Karen's connection. The actress that plays Karen, Deborah Ann Wall, said that she felt a special connection with the character of Karen Page, because in real life her husband is blind. Karen Page's drug addiction. In the show we can see that Karen's past with drugs is referenced, but in the comics it's much worse. She's still a drug addict as an adult rather than just a teenager like in the show, and she even stars in a few films for adults. Tier 3. Dark Waters. Elektra death scene reference. In the show, the way that Elektra dies in the second season is pretty similar to the way that she dies in the comics, and in the movie from 2003, she dies the same way. Kingpin's first appearance. The first appearance of Kingpin was in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 50, Spider-Man No More, and he was originally a Spider-Man villain, but nowadays more people will link Kingpin as a Daredevil villain. Daredevil and Spider-Man. Daredevil is one of Spider-Man's closest friends, and actually have a lot of comics started by both characters. Daredevil knew Peter Parker's identity because his heartbeats were the same as Spider-Man, and Daredevil even revealed his identity to Spidey at some point. It is a shame that we haven't seen them interact as much outside the comics. Spider-Man PS4. There are a lot of Daredevil Easter eggs in Spider-Man PS4. You can see the Nelson and Murdoch building, the bar Josie's, the church, and you can even collect the calling card of Nelson and Murdoch. It almost makes you wish that Insomniac developed a Daredevil game. We are happy to serve you. A lot of people pointed out that the cup of coffee that Karen Page has in the third episode of the first season looks pretty similar as the cup of coffee that Spider-Man buys at the end of the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. Although truth is that those cups are from a coffee shop that is located in New York. So it isn't an Easter egg as much as just a coincidence, although it is a cool detail nevertheless. Daredevil 9045. Daredevil isn't the first superhero to be named Daredevil. There was another character with the same name almost 20 years before. He was owned by Lev Gleason Publications and created by Jack Binder. This character also had a disability, and that is that he was mute. Instead of using a baton, he used a boomerang, and his suit was also mostly red. I think that this is just a coincidence, because Daredevil can also be used to refer to a stunt double. Hallway scenes. In every season of Daredevil, there is a hallway scene that looks more than amazing. The thing is that those scenes were filmed in just one shot. I think that this show doesn't get the recognition that it deserves for things like this. 131. In the third season, we can see that Agent Poindexter's apartment number is 131, which is no coincidence, because Bullseye's first appearance in the comics was in Daredevil issue 131. St. Agnes Orphanage. St. Agnes Orphanage is the place where Daredevil spent most of his childhood. But there's another character from the MCU that also grew up in St. Agnes, and that is Quake from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Somerville. In the last episode of the first season, there is a reference to Punisher. When Wilson Fisk escapes, he goes into a truck with the logo of Somerville Department Stores. In Punisher issue 49, Frank Castle helps the CEO of Somerville Department Stores to rescue his wife. Crusher Creel. The box fighter that Jack Murdoch fights before being killed. Crusher Creel is the villain known as Absorbing Man in the comics. Also, I should mention that Absorbing Man appears in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is another connection between that show and Daredevil. Daredevil and Lightning the Super Duck. In the 80s, after the success of Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Marvel planned another show based on Daredevil. The series was about Matt Murdock and his seeing eye dog, Lightning the Super Duck. This dog doesn't exist in the comics and it was exclusive for this show. However, Daredevil did have a seeing dog in the comics. The idea of this show was pitched by the television writer Mark Evanier to the ABC. They didn't like the idea from the beginning, but for some reason they announced the show on several newspapers with the pictures that I'm showing you right now. But not too long after that, the show was cancelled because of a discussion in a meeting. It is said that the matter was not that big of a deal, and the ABC just wanted a reason to cancel the show, because they thought that Daredevil was a violent character that kids shouldn't watch. Ironically, years later, the ABC produced the Netflix Daredevil show that we know, after it was bought by Disney. Daredevil in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There aren't many references to other Marvel heroes in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse because of licensing issues, this movie being made by Sony. But there is a really sneaky reference to Daredevil. When Wilson Fisk is about to kill Miles Morales and goes through the Collider and sees different versions of his family, one version of his son Richard is blind and looks exactly like Matt Murdock. Tier 4. The Abyss. Black Widow and Daredevil. In 1973, Angela Bowie, wife of the legendary David Bowie, auditioned to play Wonder Woman in the very first movie of the character, although she never stood a chance, and this was all planned by David Bowie to get his wife talking about his career. This made Angela Bowie all the more obsessed in wanting to be known for her own merits, and not only for being David Bowie's wife. In 1975, we will have had the first apparition of Daredevil in any media, starred by Black Widow, played by Angela Bowie. She bought the rights of the characters of Daredevil and Black Widow, and Stan Lee himself granted her the rights for a period of 1 year. She recruited the actor Ben Carruthers to play Matt Murdock. I think that it is worth mentioning that Black Widow and Daredevil were already a couple in those times. That's why Daredevil and Black Widow started the show. She pitched the idea to different studios, but no one was willing to produce the show. The most common reason was that the special effects would have been really expensive. Daredevil Black Suit Origin. The Daredevil Black Suit first appeared on the TV special The Trial of the Incredible Hulk, and not in the comic The Man Without Fear. The Trial of the Incredible Hulk was released on 1989, and the comic The Man Without Fear in 1993. So, thanks to the Incredible Hulk TV show, we have the black Daredevil suit that we all know and love. Stan Lee's favorite comic. Stan Lee's favorite comic is Daredevil issue 47, a issue where Daredevil helps a few veterans. This makes sense if you take into account that Stan Lee worked as a playwright in the army. Stan Lee and John Romita's last comic. The last comic that Stan Lee and John Romita did together was Spider-Man Kingpin to the Death. In this comic, Kingpin frames Spider-Man for various murders, and Daredevil helps Spidey to clean his name. Bullseye is Steve Rogers. Wilson Bethel, the actor that plays Bullseye in the 3rd season of Daredevil, auditioned to play Steve Rogers in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Imagine the alternate reality where he plays Captain America.
That a primal scream is the only satisfying release. Avengers!
Daredevil kills Mysterio. In the comics, Mysterio was dying of cancer because of the constant exposure to different chemicals during his illusions. So before he died, he decided that he wanted to mess with Daredevil, destroying his life. To which Daredevil just completely humiliated Mysterio and he decided to kill himself. Daredevil Girlfriend's Curse. There is a trend with every romantic partner that Daredevil had, and that is that most of them end up terribly wrong. Elektra was killed, same with Karen Page, one of Daredevil's girlfriends decided to kill herself, and other ended in a mental institute. So if you want to be Daredevil's girlfriend, be careful. Chances are you're not going to end up well. Parker vs. Morales. In the final episode of the 3rd season, you can see a poster promoting a fight between Parker and Morales. That is a reference to both Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Miles Morales. Dogs of Hell. The Dogs of Hell play a small role on the 2nd season of Daredevil, but they also appear on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yet another connection between those two shows. Melvin Potter is dead. There is a theory that says that Melvin Potter died sometime after the 3rd season of Daredevil, because the person that makes the new Daredevil suit in She-Hulk is someone different. Atlas. The office across Nelson and Murdoch is named Atlas Investments. This is a reference to Marvel Comics' old name, Atlas Comics. It was named like that for a long time before being changed to Marvel. Daredevil the Animated Series. We will have had a Daredevil animated show in the same universe as the animated series of Spider-Man, the X-Men, and Hulk. Marvel already had these plans because Daredevil was introduced in the Spider-Man show, so they wouldn't need to introduce the character again, because a lot of people was already familiarized with the character. Fox started to work on the new show for Daredevil, and we have a lot of pictures showing what it could have been. But the production of this cartoon was stopped because Fox was making the movie that we all know and hate, so they had to wait to be able to work on the cartoon again, with the excuse that this might confuse the people that was going to watch the movies if something happened different than in the show. And sadly, this show was cancelled because of the poor reception of the movie. A shout out to Joe Scoopati, Red Dragon, FXCSX, Toaster, Ender PSR1, Spider-Brain 596, Cooper Place, and Solano's Crossover Production. If you wanna shout out in my next video, give me a like, be sure to click the subscribe button, and leave in the comments, justice is blind, but I trust you if you wanna shout out. Thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.